Well, inside Villa Park for the opening day of the season, and it is not exactly stereotypical weather for the first game of the season. Usually very hot, very sunny, the sight of people in short sleeve t-shirts. Today it looks very much like it's overcast here. It looks like there's even a chance of rain here at Villa Park this lunchtime, so Newcastle United fans will be arriving on a great day to the second city. Newcastle go into this one on the back of a pre-season with no victories on the board. That will mean nothing if Newcastle can get the 3 points here today at Villa Park. I expect Eddie Howe to go with pretty much the tried and tested side he's picked throughout pre-season. The new signings, I guess, will be brought in very gradually, and I think really Newcastle just looking for that steady, stable start here. A lot of people might take a point today. Newcastle could really do with 3 given the summer that they've had. But realistically, this is a tough one for Newcastle against an Aston Villa side. Very good here, as Newcastle found out last season, losing heavily when Eddie Howe was on his sickbed. Today he's back in the dugout. He'll be hoping to lead Newcastle to an important victory. So Newcastle United pick up a point here at Villa Park, and looking back on performance, I thought actually Newcastle did play very well in terms of creating opportunities, in terms of the organisation, in terms of just the general attitude. I mean, you look at this game today and it could have gone really badly for Newcastle given everything that's happened with Isak, but I thought the attitude of the players was just absolutely spot on, and I think Eddie Howe was delighted with that after the game as well. It's a hard place to come here, Aston Villa. They're unbeaten here for a long time. I think 8 games here unbeaten, and Newcastle obviously got a real thumping here earlier this year, and many of the players are the same on both sides, but I think Newcastle today will take that point and the clean sheet with grateful hands, shall we say. But you know, the end of the game was going to be dominated by the chance about Alexander Isak. Inevitable. In some ways you might have thought it would come earlier, but Newcastle fans waited until right at the end. They wanted to back the team for the 90 minutes, help them get the point, and then also, you know, make the feelings clear about Isak towards the very end of the day, which I think, you know, worked for the team. It worked for Eddie Howe, and you know, the point has been made that Alexander Isak, the fans weren't happy with him. We knew that anyway, but now, you know, that's been sort of vocalised. So all in all, what could have been a tough day ends with Newcastle getting a good result. They take that forward now into the game against Liverpool next week. Another huge week in terms of the Alexander Isak transfer saga, probably in store, but Eddie Howe today basically saying the door is sort of still open for him if he wants to stay, but he has to make his mind up, and I think that's fair enough. So yeah, tough day all round, but one where Newcastle emerged with a point, and they can take a lot of positivity going into the next game. So just a few closing thoughts before we leave Birmingham after Newcastle's 0-0 draw. Probably a bit more about the press conference. I didn't really get much chance to add before, but yeah, Eddie Howe basically thanking the team for their efforts, thanking the supporters for what they did during the tough 90 minutes, and you know, realistically, Eddie Howe saying to Alexander Isak that a decision needs to be made, and we go on any longer. Obviously numerous efforts have been made to Isak to offer him another opportunity at Newcastle United. That clearly hasn't been taken. So it feels to me, again, a bit like yesterday, reading between the lines, because Eddie Howe saying, most of it must remain private between him and Alexander Isak, that he's basically saying Newcastle United need to be informed if he wishes to leave the football club. It sounds to me like Alexander Isak has been told, you must now put in a transfer request if you want to go. And I think that for me was pretty clear in Eddie Howe's press conference. If he's not going to play, Newcastle need to recoup the money and bring in somebody who wants to play for the football club. They were missing a striker a day. It sounds easy to say, but if Alexander Isak had been fit and firing, then Newcastle would have won that game today. Eddie Howe didn't want to go down that narrative, but it was very clear that, with a clinical finisher, Newcastle probably would have got 3 points today. The others tried their best, but they couldn't. Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes, Anthony Elanga, they couldn't find the finish that was needed to win that game. So yeah, obviously there was the early chance as well from Elanga, but he probably had it in his mind what he was going to do, and it just hasn't come off for him. Just unfortunate it happens in this game. Anthony Gordon, his efforts shouldn't be overlooked. He really battled hard in that game without finding the clear-cut chances. He tried to make things happen. He got a player sent off as well with his danger going into the box, into the final third. So that could have changed the game. Had a striker been on the pitch, there'd have been more space. So there's obviously so many positives to take from this game. The clean sheet as well. Everyone's playing for the position now. Certainly the centre backs, the full backs, the goalkeepers are all really fighting for the position. So this, for me, to recap, a very positive day, one which Eddie Howe will look back on and feel that his team have put enough effort in there to potentially win the game, but they've come away with a point. And if they can get that huge result against Liverpool next week, the Monday night, under the floodlights, back at St James Park, 4 points from an available 6 from Villa away and Liverpool at home would be absolutely massive. And you can't look any further than that game. At the moment, there are other things to look forward to, but at the moment it is all about Liverpool. Eddie Howe emphasising that, and he hopes there'll be at least one new player through the door in Jacob Ramsey, and hopefully after that a striker comes in plus Alexander Isak's replacement. So potentially 3 more players to come in. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But overall, a good draw here at Aston Villa. We leave Birmingham. I leave with a positive feeling, but I think realistically today Newcastle would have got 3 points had the political situation with Isak been that little bit different.